Dr. Richard Goossen has a passion for equipping, connecting, and inspiring Christian entrepreneurs. He's published extensively on entrepreneurship, having authored 5 books, edited 5 others, and written over 200 articles in various publications. Richard is a much sought-after expert because he's able to draw on not only his academic background, but also his broad, practical business, financial, and legal experience. He's the founder and director of ELO, the Entrepreneurial Leaders Organization, which holds conferences across Canada, and we'll let you know of some upcoming ones in a moment. But Richard, great to have you with me.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Now, you've been on with us before and sharing about entrepreneurs, but let me ask just a basic question. Like, how do you define an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, and it's one that I get asked a lot. Entrepreneurship is about innovation. So the key thing is, how do you innovate successfully and implement that innovation?
Okay. Well, that's a nice succinct way of putting it.
Well, there's many definitions, and many are quite long, but I think the key thing is an entrepreneur is not merely an inventor. An inventor might have an idea, but doesn't necessarily know how to capitalize on that idea. So an entrepreneur is the type of person who can innovate and then gather the resources to actually implement that innovation and actually do something that's of use in the marketplace. So entrepreneurs are typically defined by a really clear focus on the customer and the product. So often an entrepreneur, a classic example would be Steve Jobs, who's fanatical about the product and is driven by the passion for the product, but is not actually driven by the money. So it's not that Steve Jobs wanted to be a wealthy person, but rather it's that passion for the product, doing something new, different, unique. Sorry, that's a longer version.
Yeah, no, that's good. And so not just having the vision or an idea and a light bulb moment, but knowing how to walk that out to the next step and actually make it happen.
Yeah, and that's why entrepreneurs are doers. They're working outside the comfort zone. They're doing something that hasn't been done before and driving change.
Yeah. Well, you have written, as I mentioned, several books. I'm holding a few of them here. Entrepreneur.
Right.
And Entrepreneurial Excellence and Entrepreneurial Leaders, Volume 5. Now, that means you've done a lot of volumes where you've researched, you've spent the time with the team and just interviewing a lot of these entrepreneurs and finding out, okay, what makes them tick, what makes them successful. So as you think through all that research that you've done, is there kind of an X factor that they have in common, the things that really say that this is what makes these entrepreneurs really successful?
Right. Well, we've interviewed 250 entrepreneurs, Christian entrepreneurs, and done that over a 7-year period. And so what we found is there's some things that can be taught about entrepreneurship and other things that can't. So you can develop general knowledge, financial knowledge, even study other entrepreneurs, but that so-called X factor is really hard to quantify because sometimes it's a function of your particular background. Sometimes it's an immigrant background that spurs people on. Sometimes it's being in the right place at the right time, seeing an opportunity others don't. So the X factor is something that's really hard to teach because it's somebody seeing an opportunity that many others can't. But that produces, let's say, the exceptional entrepreneurs. But the thing that we drive at with our conferences and our teaching is that everyone can learn to become more entrepreneurial, more innovative, whether it's in a church context or in a business context. So the unique entrepreneurs with that X factor, those are like the Wayne Gretzkys. So of course there is a Wayne Gretzky and there's a Sidney Crosby, but those are the exceptions. But it doesn't mean that you and I couldn't become better hockey players if we worked at it. So with entrepreneurship, I think the key thing for people to understand is everybody can become more entrepreneurial and more innovative, but it doesn't mean they'll be the next Steve Jobs.
So there's a special giftedness that some people have, like a Wayne Gretzky for hockey, that you can't really teach that part, but you can teach a lot of the other. And speaking of teaching, I know you do a fair bit of teaching as well at university levels. Whereabouts are you teaching? Yeah,
I'm connected with University of Cambridge in the UK with a research center called Transforming Business. So we focus on enterprise solutions to poverty. And then I also co-teach a course at Regent College with Paul Stevens.
Now, a lot of your your heart anyway, your passion is to help Christian entrepreneurs. Why that focus?
Well, what I found is when I was teaching at a university level, there were a lot of issues related to applying faith in the marketplace that no one was addressing. So you have these entrepreneurs, and what I discovered is that there's lots of entrepreneurs who are actually in the church but not active in their church. So they've become disengaged. And what I discovered was that a lot of entrepreneurs are not affirmed in their calling to the marketplace. So what happens is then they get involved in other non-church related activities. So my passion was really to equip, connect, and inspire Christian entrepreneurial leaders. And that's why we set up these conferences, and we've gotten a really good response, because it doesn't seem that entrepreneurs are getting that affirmation elsewhere.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, why the conferences? Because as you're saying, it's just a way to connect these people. So how you've done several of them already, and there's some more coming up.
Yeah.
How have you found that connection? Has it been working?
Yeah. What's interesting is that the entrepreneur conferences have kept growing as a result of people's response to them. So we have no marketing budget. We basically have a newsletter we send out to people and it gets re-forwarded. But basically, a lot of entrepreneurs throughout almost every denomination feel they're not getting the encouragement for their calling to the marketplace. So when we have this event, it's amazing how we get so many people. We get 500 people at a conference focused on Christian entrepreneurial leadership. And we've had people coming from throughout Canada, North America, and overseas. And virtually everyone will say, I've never heard of a conference like this that's focused on Christian entrepreneurial leadership and how people can make a huge impact in the marketplace and in their churches and in their communities.
Do you find that Christian entrepreneurs seem to have a sense of a higher calling to this wealth creation that they're gifted with?
I'd say they do, and then what we want to do is heighten that even more, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't fully grasp the theological nature of the entrepreneurial process. So for example, entrepreneurs are creative. Well, who's the original creator? Where does creativity come from? When you feel a strong purpose to do something, where does that purpose come from? It comes from the calling. Where do you get meaning from? You don't find your meaning in work, you bring your meaning to work. So Christians have a broader life calling. So what we like to do is not only inspire entrepreneurs, but actually give them more of a theological framework to understand that they are, in a sense, co-creators with God, that their entrepreneurial activities have a much higher purpose than simply making money. Making money is great, and of course that's the oxygen of the business, but it's part of a much greater dynamic, which is adding to creation.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Now, the conferences are coming up, and we want to give you some information on how you can plug into one of these. You might be saying, well, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've never heard an opportunity to get together with others like myself, Christian entrepreneurs. So here are the conference dates coming up for you. So coming up very quickly, November 8th and 9th in Vancouver.
Right.
And actually, our CEO of Crossroads, Don Simmons, is one of your speakers there.
Right. Needless to say, he'll be the top speaker.
Oh, okay. And then November the 20th and the 22nd, Toronto and Calgary.
Right.
And so you'll be taking a lot of the content from that initial Vancouver one and showing it at the others. And it's all online as far as how you can find out about it and plug into it at eleaders.org.
Right.
Go online. So who should attend?
Well, the type of people who should attend are not only entrepreneurs, but people who want to be more innovative, more creative, want to be leaders of positive change. So while we have a specific entrepreneurial focus, it's not limited to people who have been successful entrepreneurs. There'll be plenty of those types of people there, but it's really available to any business people, any people who are leaders who want to drive positive change.
All right. Dr. Richard Goossen, great having you with us.
Thanks a lot.
And God bless you on these conferences and all that you're doing to inspire and equip these leaders.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your support.
All right.